Hey guys, what's up? I am Nikhil from Dope Motions and welcome to this brand new After Effects tutorial. In today's video, we will create a digital distorted text animation inside of After Effects without using a single plugin. But before we start today's video, I just want to take a minute and talk about our today's sponsor, Capture. So basically, this is the first blockchain camera and it only requires one click to mint NFTs. It's also completely integrated with their own cryptocurrency. It can become a next social media where you are uploading all your photos and immediately they are recognized on your blockchain. So that means now you can go ahead and sell or trade them. Whatever that you want to do, you have the complete content ownership and it's super easy to use. You can download the Capture app from the Google Play or App Store. So here I have a photo that I want to upload, and as you can see, it's currently registering the capture on the blockchain. As you can see, people here are actually selling their photo that they have captured as NFTs, which is insane, I think. Now we can also list our photo on one of the most popular marketplace for NFTs, that is OpenSea. All you have to do is open the image, click on this icon, click Network Actions, select List to OpenSea, add a caption, pay the fee, and there you go. I think this is the future of anything that is related to NFTs. For more info, make sure to download the Capture app. Link is in the description below. Now without any further ado, let's start today's video. Alright guys, so here we are in After Effects. Let's start with creating a new composition. Let's keep it 1920 by 1080, that is full HD and 30 fps, 10 seconds long. Let's call this render. Then let's create another new comp. This is going to be our text composition. So I'm going to call this text underscore 01 and then unlink or unlock the aspect ratio of the composition and change the height to, I think 100 should be good. Hit OK. Then select the text. Now because we will be adding 3 different text, we need to create 3 compositions. So I'm gonna type in my first text, that is going to be epic. Alright, I'm gonna align this into the center. Let's bring down the size a little bit, around 85 pixels should be good. And for the font, I'm using the DOS's font. I'll mention the link in the description to download the same exact font. So let's go ahead and animate the text. So I'm going to go right here. Let's make some room right over here. Also, before we start animating anything, one thing I would like to recommend is make sure you download the Keyframe Wingman script. This is a free After Effects script. You will find the link to download it in the description. It comes along with the animation composer. So after you install the animation composer, go into Windows and there you'll find the Keyframe Wingman. By the way, this is not sponsored by them, but this is a super useful script and we will be using this in order to save some time in the animation process. So let's go into the text, go into animate, and the first effect or the first property that I want to add is the position. And let's animate the position. I'm going to place this down like so. Go into the range selector. Let's set the start property all the way up to 100% and create a keyframe on start and the end. And then I'm going to zoom in my timeline a bit like so. Let's go to 10 frames and move the end property keyframe right here. Then I'll go to 1 second and set the start property to 0, go to 1 second and 10 frame and set this one, that is the end property, to 0. Then select the keyframes and then using the Keyframe Wingman, I'm going to tweak this. Basically this tweaks the graph editor. So if I just click on this, if I go into my graph, you can see we can simply select the keyframe and adjust the graph editor using this one script. So you can do this manually if you want, but again, in order to save some time, I'm going to do this with the Keyframe Wingman. Let's set this to 90 and then I'll go into the advanced property and change the shape to ramp down. And now if I preview this, we have this really cool animation. I want to add some randomness to this, so I'm going to turn on randomize order and there we go, looking pretty good. Then I'm going to add a tracking animation. So let's go into animate again and add tracking property. So let's animate this. Let's go to 1 second and let's increase this to around maybe 25 or 30 should be good. Create a keyframe, go to 1 second and 10 frames and set this to 0. Then I can select the keyframes and click on this button to add the same curve, and there we have our first animation looking pretty nice. Now let's duplicate the composition. So hit Ctrl D. Now we have text 2 and this is going to be a second text. Let's call this distorted. All right. We don't need the animator 2 as of now, so I'm going to delete that. We only need the animator 1 for now. And I'm going to go around somewhere around here, go into animator 1, set the position to 0, create a keyframe, go 1 frame forward, suppress page down to jump 1 frame forward in time, and let's set this to maybe somewhere around here. So now we have something like this. All right, now I know it doesn't make sense at the moment, but we will stack up number of different animators on top of another to make it look a bit more glitchy, distorted and complex. So here we have our animator 1. Let's go into animate and add another tracking property. So now we have animated 2 and animate the tracking amount. So I'll go to around, let's go somewhere around 2 seconds and set this to 30. Create a keyframe, go 1 frame forward in time and set this to 100. Then go to 2 second and 10 frames and set this to 0. Select the keyframes and apply the same exact curve. So now we have something like this. Looks kind of distorted, looks good. Now let's add another animator. So I'm going to go into animate and add opacity, and then go into add property and combine this with character offset. So let's go at the very start, go into the range selector, bring down the opacity to 0, and I'm going to create a keyframe on the start property. Go to around, let's go to around 10 frames, set this to 75, and then go 1 frame forward, set this to 15, then go to around 1 second and 10 frames and set this all the way up to 100, and then go into the advanced property and turn on randomize order. So now we have something like this, which looks pretty damn cool. I think I need to move the keyframes of the opacity a bit forward in time. So let's place this at around 15 frames and let's preview the animation. Yep, now we have this kind of a distorted glitchy look which I'm looking for, and that is looking good. And then finally I'm gonna add a character offset animation. So let's go to around 1 second and 10 frames, create a keyframe on the character offset, go 2 frames forward in time and set this to 10, and then go right over here and set this to 0. So now we have something like this. So here we have a complete text animation, kind of distorted and glitchy, and you can stack up as many animators as you want. Then select the text 1, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. So we have text 3 and I'm going to call this one transformation, and going to keep the same animation as our first text. I think it looks pretty damn cool. Alright, then let's create another new comp, call this map, and I'm going to create a black and white displacement map. Make sure to set the height to 1080 again. And this map is going to help us to drive the glitch animation. So on this composition, I'm going to press Ctrl Y to create a new solid. You can call this map if you want, and then go into effects and presets, search for fractal noise, double click to apply that, set the noise type to block. And I'm going to bring down the brightness, I think, to -90, and then go into overflow and set this to, I think the soft clamp should be, no, I think we should go with wrap back, yeah. Then go into transform, unlink the uniform scaling, set the complexity down to 1. Let's increase the width like so. Somewhere around there should be good, and then adjust the scaling. I think this much should be fine. I think let's go with something like 50 or a 45 Should be good. Yeah, this looks good. Then let's animate the evolution. So I'm gonna hold Alt and click on the evolution stopwatch and use a simple expression called time times 360. Then go back into the transform and animate the turbulence offset turbulence, I mean. So I'm gonna select the fractal noise, bring this right here, create a keyframe, go all the way up to 10 seconds, and let's bring this down like so. So we have this really nice animation. I think maybe a bit more. Yeah, that is looking good. So our map is ready. Now let's go into our main render comp and drag and drop in all the three titles that we have here. And I'm going to move the first one right over here, the third one below. And then select the first and third, hit S and scale them down to around 40. So that is looking pretty nice. Let's adjust the position a bit like that. Then let's create a new shape layer like so and place this below the first text and add a fill on the first text. So I'm gonna go right here, search for a fill and make this black. And we can actually align them properly just like so. Now let's go to 1 second and drag the third text to 1 second. So we have the third text animating later on. And let's also place the first text around 20 frames in time, forward in time. So like so. So here we have a first text and then the second. Looks pretty nice. Now it's time to add those cool and fun glitches. So to do that, I'm going to start by right clicking and creating a new adjustment layer. You can call it whatever that you want. I'm going to call this glitch and also add the map composition inside this render comp, and we can hide this. We don't need to see it. Then select the glitch adjustment layer, go into effects and presets and search for a displacement map. Double click to apply that. Go to around 10 seconds, hold Alt and right square bracket to crop the layer. And then in the displacement map, I'm going to make some room right here, set this to map. So we have this really nice displacement, as you can see. Let's increase this to around 15 or something. And this one all the way up like so, somewhere around there. So you can see we have this really nice displacement. So let's set this to around 500, I think. Create a keyframe, go to 10 frames and set this to 100. So now we have this kind of displacement, as you can see, looks pretty dope. Let's duplicate this layer, hit Control D. I'm going to move this forward in time and get rid of the displacement map. Let's add a transform effect on this. So let's go into effects and presets and search for transform. Double click to apply that. Go right here and create a keyframe on the scale property. Go right over here and scale this to around 200, should be good. Then go right over here, hit U and just copy this keyframe, Control C, Control V. Then select the keyframes and click on this icon to add the similar animation of our previous keyframes. And then I'm gonna turn off the use compositions shutter and set the shutter angle to 360 to add a manual shutter. So we have this kind of really cool look. I can maybe move this one a bit more forward in time. So you can see we get this pretty nice animation, maybe a bit more. I think we should start from here. Looks pretty damn cool. We can even increase this much more, like around 300. Yeah, this looks much better, I think. Also, I want my shape to be visible when the text starts appearing inside the shape right here, So what we can do is actually move this one a few frames forward in time. So now we have something like this. Looks pretty nice. Yeah, that makes much more sense. Let's duplicate this again, hit Control D and get rid of the transform effect. Let's drag this a few frames forward and then add an effect called mosaic. And let's set the vertical blocks to 120, should be good. So we get this really cool look. So as soon as it hits back, I want this to transform into a mosaic effect. You can see just for a few frames, but it looks pretty damn cool. Then let's duplicate this again, hit Ctrl D, place this a few frames forward in time. And this time I'm going to turn on sharp colors to get a different look. We can play around with the way it looks. So something like this. So you can see we get this really nice distortion. Just make sure to play around with the values to get a really interesting look. Then let's duplicate this again, hit Ctrl D, go forward in time, and let's delete the mosaic effect. I'm going to add the transform effect again. And let's animate the position of this. So let's go right here and move the position down. Let's actually create a keyframe on the position first. Let's go a few frames forward. Let's move this down. Few frames forward. Move this up. And then few frames forward again. And set this back to where it was. So hit U, copy paste this keyframe. Select it and apply the same curve again. So now we have something like this. And let's add a shutter angle. So we have this really nice motion blur kind of an effect. Looks pretty good. And on top of that, I'm going to again use the mosaic effect somewhere around there, but for a shorter span. So you can see we get this really nice look. And then finally at the end, I'm going to copy the transform and the glitch again. And finally at the end at around 3 seconds, I'm going to copy these two effects. That is the first displacement and the transform. Hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. Put this at the top. And place this somewhere around there and combine them on top of another. So this will help us to get a really cool distortion at the end. Alright, so now let's preview the complete animation. And as you can see, it looks quite distorted, looks pretty damn cool, I think. I think the zoom is a bit too much for this. So let's select this, hit U, and go right here, set this to around 200. So that will be fine, yeah. Or maybe a bit like 250. Let's select the displacement map, hit U, and what I'm going to do, move this keyframe right here, and at the start I'm going to set this to 0. So now it's going to start from 0. Displacement is going to go all the way up and then back to 100. So boom, there we go, looks much better. So finally our animation is ready. Now let's add some RGB flavor to this. So I'm going to select everything, hit Ctrl Shift C to pre-compose it, call this animation. And then go into effects and preset and search for shift channels, double click to apply that. Set the red and green to full off. We only need the blue. Set this to add, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. Then set the green on, green, and turn off the blue. Hit Ctrl D again and turn on the red and turn off the green and blue. And then I'm going to move this by 1 frame forward in time, and that is going to give us this really nice RGB effect. As you can see, looks pretty damn cool. Boom. There we have a really cool and distorted text animation, as you can see. Now, if you want, you can use deep glow to add some nice glows on this, or you can use the default glow that we get in After Effects, but I would recommend using deep glow. It helps us to achieve much more better glows. So let's add a glow, increase the radius, bring that down. So now you can see we get a really nice glow here. Also switch to 16 bits and then bring that one down, and boom, there we have a pretty nice distorted text animation inside of After Effects. So this technique is quite flexible. You can apply or stack up number of different effects on top of another to achieve a really cool distortion. So all in all, that is a wrap for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified. You can also follow me on Instagram at dope.motions, and if you're feeling generous, please do support us on Patreon as well. With that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and always stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.